What's up, guys? This is Wenzes. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're talking about how to use anger as a fuel. And there are a lot of lessons to be learned here because none of my life would exist if anger wasn't an issue, if it wasn't a topic. It was the first time ever, I feel like, I used anger as fuel. I transformed all the anger that I, before that, not even allowed myself to feel. So I had to learn how to allow myself to tap into anger, then use it as drive, fuel, get where I want to go, and then let go of it. Because as we all know, you can't stay too long in anger. That's how it happens, why so many people have to go to anger management. They stay bitter or frustrated and sometimes even depressed, and we don't want that to happen. But that does not mean that anger is a bad thing. Anger is actually a wonderful tool, and we should all feel it because it's part of the whole process of grieving, of letting go, and being able and open for the next layer. See, the thing is this, anger is something that a lot of psychologists want you actually to feel, or therapists, because if you look at the energy scale of, all the emotions you can feel, and, the higher the emotional scale or the frequency scale, the better, the more you act out of kindness, the more you act out of abundance, and the more you create the life not only for you, but for others, in a positive, abundant way. And so, like, on the very low spectrum of this scale, you have things like apathy. You don't have any joy for anything. You're really sad, depressed, like all of those kind of things. And then comes anger. Anger is always above of that because anger actually tells you that you're moving your energy, you're moving your emotions. And below that, you're kind of like, I don't care. And I used to be there. I did not want to tap into my anger because first off, I was scared what's going to happen if I do. I've talked to a lot of people about this, and they also feel like, first off, I don't know what anger is. That is very common. It was something I definitely felt. I felt I'm just not an angry person. I don't get mad. But then I realized how often I was living in a passive aggressive relationship with friends, with family, with whoever it was, until I recognized that it's actually anger that I didn't allow. So I was telling myself, oh, this person didn't mean bad. Like, they are having all of those problems and I want to help them. I didn't want to admit to myself what was going on. And why didn't I want to do this? Well, as I said, two reasons. The first reason is you actually gonna have an ego fail. You're gonna realize that you got hit badly. Because if you allow yourself to get angry, it means that the other person did something that you were out of control of. It's much easier to tell yourself, oh, they're just suffering, that's why they're doing this. They're just sad, that's why they lash out. They don't know any better. Or you may say, I don't deserve any better. All of those things are reasons why we don't want to tap into anger. But at the same time, we have to look at why does it actually happen? We really want to go deep here so we understand really what's going on, so you can really apply this to any kind of situation you have in your life that, goes in that direction. So most of the time we feel like this because for some reason when we were kids, we had to do this. We had no other choice. So let's say your dad was really mad at you or didn't look at what you needed and neglected your needs. What does a child's brain do here? The child can tell itself, oh, I should let go of my dad. I shouldn't be here. I should do what I want and just live my life. You are dependent on your parents. And you're not just dependent on your parents, you're dependent on your peers. You're dependent on society much more than we are, of course, as adults. So what does this child's brain do? It gives this whole thing a story, a narrative, which explains to the child why it's okay for the other person to act this way. You get an impression of, I should not express my anger. I should not express things I don't feel because that way I actually hurt the other one, or the other one is really, sad. And you get so mesmerized and so attached to what the other person wants that you're not even able to see later on why this is bad. And for me, it was really a moment of humongous stress, of really staying in a relationship with a person that was really close to me. It wasn't like a romantic relationship, but it was somebody really important in my life, and it was in my 20s. And I realized I cannot keep doing this. And it really took me to be pushed to the edge for me to realize this. So I hope that you're not being pushed so far. It really took for me to say, I cannot be treated this way. Because what was the story I was telling myself? I was telling myself, well, you're special. You can take so much pain. If you're not there to protect the other person, then who is? You're the one saving that person. That's something that happens a lot in, let's say, narcissistic and codependent relationships, but it's actually really, really common for so many people. And it helps you also to understand what you want in the long run, because if you really are willing to suffer so much before you actually tap into your anger, it's a great sign that this thing, what you're doing, for me, actually, it was understanding where the other person was coming from. Why are they suffering? Like really understanding what was going on. That was so interesting to me, and I so wanted to fix that. That was such a deep desire of mine that I was willing to go that deep into the rabbit hole. But as I said, that's a great thing to look at, specifically if you're watching this video and you say, well, I'm also a person who doesn't feel their anger very often. Then now you have the opportunity to actually look at it and change it from the inside out. That gives you an opportunity to really make a profit out of this whole situation, not just for you, but for others. And it all starts with you understanding that this is not okay. If you look at a situation where somebody has done something to you, or somebody just acts in a way that you don't like and you haven't done anything about it, then ask yourself, how would you look at it if a third person would be involved? If this would happen to your mom, if somebody would act like this towards your brother, if somebody would neglect your best friend like this, what would you do? And then if you then feel, oh, I would get so angry, then it's time for you to understand, okay, I have a problem with tapping into my anger. But the moment you actually say, this is it, I have to change something about it, and I'm gonna tap into my anger and express it either towards that person or just by the way I'm living my life, by me changing the dynamic I've been living, the moment you do that, you're gonna feel a huge abandonment. You're gonna feel that because up until this point, the way you've seen reality has kept you safe. That's what you thought. This is the thing you thought that's gonna get you through life. Because you knew if you would express your anger, you would either go way too hard so that you feel like the other person can't handle it, they'll have a psychotic breakdown, you pretty much kill them with your words, and that you're gonna be abandoned. People are not gonna like you. If you're somebody who's not able to tap into your anger, then this definitely plays a role, and we can practice it. You can practice the tapping into this anger and really get to the core of it. Because the truth is this, there is sadness behind this. If somebody has treated you a certain way, and it might be that you're reliving something that happened in childhood, but at this moment, this is reality, and we have to deal with it. And one great way to understand that there's really something deeper in it is if you're in a situation where you don't want to let go of, which you want to relive over and over again, although it causes you pain over and over again. So you stay in friendships where your needs are being neglected, you stay in relationships where you always put down, whatever it is, that's the moment when we really need to tap into our anger. And how do we do this? Well, there are great ways to do this. One of the ways I personally love the most is through music. So I listen to music that really, really touches my fighter spirit, my warrior spirit, and whatever it is for you, tap into this. I liked a lot of rap. I listened to a lot of Eminem in my hardest times. After that, I switched over to Lil Kim, which is a little bit more uplifting and a little bit more empowering. But in the beginning, I just needed to get that anger out. And for me, music was a great way to do this. And no matter what kind of music you listen to, this could be one of the things where you can tap into this because it exists. It exists around you, in you, and you just gotta kind of lean into it. And the good thing about it is once you tap into this anger, one of the biggest fears, one of the big challenges you already will have overcome. This fear of being abandoned, the fear of how will the other person react once I express that anger. That's a huge one, but you'll realize you're always allowed to express that anger. You can start with yourself, but then you can also start expressing it towards the person who did this one thing. Of course, in the end, we have to realize that, we have to protect our boundaries. We have to change something, and it really doesn't help to change our behavior around anger if we don't change our behavior towards future actions. What I'm saying by this is You can only express anger, use it as fuel, and then transform yourself into a new reality if you're willing to change all the dynamics. You can't stay in the same relationship dynamic and express that anger. It will not help you because that way you're not really using that anger. You're just reliving it. You're staying bitter by reliving that pain over and over again. And this is not what we want. This will keep you stuck in the past just as much as not tapping into your anger at all. So really be willing and ready the moment you step into your anger to change the dynamics. It will be like you completely meet new people in your life. Even if you have all other relationships the same, the people that you have this kind of like weird interaction with when it comes to anger, for example, you allowing them to express too much anger, you taking on their anger, you not allowing yourself to be angry, or as I said, you reliving your anger. The moment you're ready to take on this next step, the moment you're ready to take on this as fuel and transform it, this relationship dynamic will change. There's no doubt about it. And you gotta be open and willing and ready to see that. And it doesn't have to be like a from 0 to 100 kind of thing. You can make little steps, but if you tap into this, you'll see how beneficial it is. And one of the main reasons why it's so important to express that anger is because behind that anger, there's the sadness. There's the real sadness and the truth that you weren't protected when you were supposed to. Because what had you done until this point? You trusted that that person will protect your boundaries, that this person will know what kind of behavior would be okay, that you gave this person the power to determine your value. This is what has been going on. We have to be aware of that. We gave that power away. And we have to understand we as people are generally always projecting. It's just part of who we are. We project because this is how we've been brought up. This is how society teaches us. You know, we want to fit in. Being part of a tribe, being part of society, of a social circle, that's a human need. We can't neglect that, and there's nothing to feel bad about here, but that's just what happens. So we kind of project and we assume that people feel the way we feel. We think people think the way we feel, they would know what was right, what is not right. And I remember so vividly believing this. And I didn't know any other way. It's not like you think, oh, there's the color blue, but there's also the color green, and I just choose to know the color blue. What you actually only known is navy blue, then you know indigo, then you know baby blue, but you've never seen green. You never experienced green. So how do you know that there is actually a green? So how are you supposed to know that you're projecting? We assume that people think the way we think without knowing that it could be any other way. The moment we stop doing is the moment when we start taking back control. So what does that mean? That means that you tell yourself, no matter what, people cannot protect me if I'm not protecting myself. There is no way. You're not a child anymore. You don't need dad's or mom's protection. You are here to protect yourself. You're here to set the rules for your life. And now is the perfect time to understand what those rules are. So what caused you to feel this pain? What caused you to feel so powerless? What kind of thing did you allow this person or the situation to take on? Maybe it is that you lost your job and you get so frustrated that an outside source had the power to determine your life. So the question is, what can you do so this never ever happens again? Of course, there are things that we cannot control, but there's so many things we do have control over and we let them slide. One of the things, for example, that we allow way too much is for people to treat us how they want to treat us. Because if we don't believe that we deserve to be treated better, and you decide what better means, you decide how you want to be treated, because I can guarantee you I want to be treated differently than you. Some people want to be treated as if they're a warrior. Other people want to be treated as if they're a really kind, nice person. Whatever it is, it's so subjective, it's so you, and you define it. You have to make sure what kind of energy you allow around yourself. So let's say you're at work and you're kind of being bullied. What happens most of the time? The people who are being bullied feel, well, nobody likes me. Why am I being bullied? I'm trying my best and I'm still being treated this way. People bullying us always taps into a part of what we believe about ourselves. That's just what it is. You can say, oh, of course, but there are people who are just bullies. What does that have to do with me? Well, the thing is this, you can leave the situation. You can first off really make people feel bad who bullied you. Because I can tell you, I've been bullied so much in my younger years. I've learned to overcome this, and people rarely, barely dare to bully me. And if they do, and I snap back, then we know, oh, okay, who's more convincing at this moment? Because in the end, it's the person who stays the longest in their own reality is the one who wins. And when I say is the one who wins, I mean they can't be swayed away. I know my truth to such a degree that if most people come around me and they have a different understanding of reality, then I just let them be. I kind of like push it away because I know where I'm going, I know who I am, and then I allow people to join me who want to join me. I want to give out of having a full cup of energy and out of abundance. And in order to do that, I have to fill up my truth, my bubble, my own reality with more of the things that actually make me feel more powerful, make me feel more in control of my life and who I am. And you get to do that in the moment of this anger. Anger, as I said, can be your biggest friend. Do not shy away from it. Be relentless in the beginning. I'm not saying you should go up to that person and kick him in the head. What I'm saying is when you're by yourself and you're listening to music and you really tap into this emotion, be willing to be relentless. Be completely, I'm right, you're wrong, and I'm not gonna understand your perspective. I'm not gonna care what you think. How dare you do this? This is anger. This is tapping into your anger because we're not looking at it from a logical standpoint. We're looking at it from an emotional standpoint because then actually this anger gets exciting. This anger becomes energy, and that's the anger you can use because at that moment you tell yourself, what am I going to do so that person, first off, never ever dares to do this again, and I'll never put myself in a situation where that person has that power over me. So for example, if you allowed that person to give you the impression that you're a bad person because you're not kind enough or because you're not selfless enough, then what is it that really makes you feel this way? What would you have to do in your life if none of those people would exist that would make you feel like you're a good person? What is that thing that you actually feel like you have to give and you take in? You're not giving of yourself. For me, starting this channel was the thing. It was like I had all of this knowledge, I had all of those insights, and I kept them secret for me. Why? Because I was afraid. I was afraid of what it would do with my relationships. I was afraid of what other people would think of me. All of this I kept to myself. But when I met a person who was all altruistic, but at the same time really narcissistic and mean and made me feel like the worst person because I was selfish in certain ways, I realized that first off, I cannot let this person keep on doing this to me because I'm just keeping on hurting myself. And this is not healthy. So I allowed myself to be angry because you know what? Even if you're not perfect, and you're not, none of us is, no matter what kind of mistakes you've made, no matter what people have done to you or what you have allowed other people to do to you, you do not deserve this because you're a person on this earth. And there's not one person on this earth who deserves this more than you. And when I say this, I mean being kind, being gentle, being respected. All the things you want to give to somebody else, give to yourself first. Because if you do not give this to yourself, nobody else can. Even if they wanted to, they will not know what your boundaries are, how you want to be treated, and how you want this whole thing to play out. You have the power, so take it. So the moment you realize that you never ever want to feel like this, you feel out of control, threatened, frightened, whatever it is that was caused by either this person or this situation, before you start analyzing where it comes from, or that that person is not really responsible, and in the end you carry it with yourself, ask yourself, who do you have to become? In what direction do you have to lean into so you're not allowing that person to determine your value? Because up until this point, you've given that power over to the other person because you don't want to take that on. I didn't want to take that on. That was so scary. It was like saying to myself, well, now you have to be an adult. Now you have to be completely by yourself and on your own because you can't rely on other people making you feel like you're something. You have to do this for yourself. That was scary, and most people don't do this. And you know what? This is not just something you do once. I did this over and over and over again, and I'm gonna keep doing this because every time this happens, I realize, You have been projecting. You thought that this person, your friend for example, supports your ideas, and that's why you felt so comfortable. But then you realize, no, that person doesn't support your ideas. So how have I allowed this? Because there are people in my life who don't support my ideas, but I just don't care because I don't have those kind of situations with them. I don't have those kind of conversations with them. But the moment I've been open to discussing these things is the moment I want that other person to mirror back to me that, you're not good or your ideas are not great or whatever it is. No matter what it is, you gave that person that power. So take that power back. Who do you have to become? Where do you have to lean into so you're not reliant on that person's opinion about you? And it's never about reaching that one point that, if I do this and this and this, then I'm going to reach this one point and then I'm going to be free. It's actually the leaning in part. That's where you need the drive for. It's that thought of who do I have to become? What is the first step I have to take? That first step, that is the hardest. I've said it in the last videos, but I love this analogy. A plane needs 40% of its fuel only to start up. And that's the same way with using anger as a fuel in order to change your life into the direction you want it to go. There's something you have to change, something about the dynamics, something about the way you live your life. So if you live your life just by surviving and not thriving, now is the time to use all of that energy that anger gives you to know that this person will never ever make me feel this way, and really tap into it. I don't want you to overanalyze at this point. We can do this later. The next video is gonna be on forgiveness. We're gonna do all of that then, but for now, take it on. Realize what kind of opportunity this gives you and be willing and ready to fight. I was in warrior mode and I loved it. I looked at archetypes about women who were warriors. I felt powerful. I wanted to fight, and this is where all of this took place. This transformation of energy allowed me to build that life. I mean, if you want, watch one of my first videos after this one so you see what kind of transformation I've gone through. Anger was a huge part in this, and really take it on as the gift as it is. Do not stay in anger. We have to let it go gently. As I said, I'm going to talk about it in the next video. It's coming out in a couple of days, so please bear with me. But for now, allow yourself to be angry. Don't be afraid. The world can take it. Use it as your fuel. Use it as your motivation to get out. Become who you want to be. The first step is the hardest, but that's also the one that's going to give you that freedom. It's like a release. And then you start releasing this anger and you start building on it, and it pushes you forward and forward. And at some point, you'll see that since you've created this new life for yourself, the more you do that, the more you realize how this anger loses its power. It's a really interesting dynamic because then you have to start motivating yourself through abundance. That's when the real fun stuff happens. But this anger is a huge component. Do not forget it. Do not be afraid of it, and use it. But don't use it in a way of, oh, I'm going to tell myself every day, how could that person do this to me? What kind of bad situation did I get in that I lost my job, or whatever it is? That will not help you. What will help you is to say, what do I have control over? How can I use that anger to transform it into creating the life? Because this pain, this can be a motivation. It will not last, but for the beginning, that's the hard thing that you need to push you forward. That motivation to say, never again am I going to put myself in this situation. Never again am I going to allow an external thing to have this kind of impact on my well-being. You have the power, but use it. Allow yourself to feel angry. It's a good thing. You do not have to be afraid that you will not be able to tap out of it. You will be able, but you have to allow it. Do not stay away from it. Do not neglect it, and do not relive it without changing anything. Anger is only good if you first off express it and then use it for transformation. Do not allow this energy not to be transformed, because if this doesn't happen, you'll be one of those people who takes this with them forever, and you keep reliving the situation. You keep asking yourself why your surrounding doesn't respect you, why that person didn't give you what you wanted and what you have given to them. But you've been in such a new realm, you've created such a great life for yourself that you're just not gonna care. You're not gonna care. But this only happens if you really use it. Use it change your life, and be the master of your reality. I really hope you like it. I'll have more videos like this in the future. I wish you a great day, my friends. Stay positive and allow anger. I wish you, like always, a great day, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.